What the f? Okay, today is the Lumina's maiden voyage, first on public streets trip. Going to get her a tag, and so we'll see how she does. Besides driving this thing around my neighborhood, I really haven't driven it. This is the first test. So wish me luck. Oh, if she does well, she earned her tag. If not, I'm gonna turn my ass right around because I'm not paying for that tag if she ain't ready for the road yet. So stay tuned. She's got flat spots for sure in the tires. I mean, they're not awful. You hardly even feel them, but you know they're there. And it's my first time ever having it over like 35 miles an hour. And I mean, the transmission obviously is shifting as it should. I would expect that for 67,000 miles, but yeah, a little bit rumbly. Those tires, that's about it. Otherwise, she drives straight and true, nothing else weird going on. I gotta get some fresh gas in this thing. I still haven't put, this is whatever gas, I don't know how old it is. I'm guessing it's at least from 2014 that this car had in it when it was parked. So, definitely need to get some fresh gas in her. Oil pressure, excellent. It was good to begin with, but I changed the oil and that brought it up even more. Of course, that oil probably had very little viscosity left. Well, we're almost there. As you saw earlier in the video, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, I don't remember. I know I was talking to a few of my friends about it, but the oil pressure gauge gets pretty low and this thing gets up to warm idle. It'll be just above the red. And I don't really like that, so I'm doing a test, oil pressure test. Got a mechanical gauge on here, and of course this is, you know, as all these jobs are, especially in these friggin' W-body cars, they have zero room to work on them compared to a larger car with a 3800. There's a special socket you need to get the oil pressure sensor out. Now, I had a socket that's actually for a 3.1 and a few other GM transverse engines. And so I figured, beautiful, this will be easy. Just throw that socket on there, pull that out, and thread this in. Well, of course, the socket I have, not the right one. You can see it's too long to fit in there. It hits this AC line here and it's not deep enough. So I said, okay, great, the auto parts store should have it. I had the same one. So it turns out 1991 and up, this would work. This 1 1/16 socket, but of course, this being a 1990, whatever difference, maybe this isn't in the way. I think this is a little bit shorter, the oil pressure switch. I had to take the oil filter off to get an adjustable wrench in there to undo the switch, oil pressure switch, thread this on, put the oil filter back on, and so now I'm gonna go up there, start it up. We'll see what pressure we get. I'm gonna have to let this thing warm up because now it's cool. See what we get at warm idle. Hopefully it's better than what the gauge shows. If that's the case, obviously we've got a bad switch, and I will replace it. I'm not gonna replace it right away because I'm gonna have to order one. I don't want this car down for a few days. So next oil change, I'll replace it. If it reads low, then I'm going to throw some 20W50 in this thing, and that'll be the end of that. So I would be surprised if this has a low oil pressure condition with 67,000 miles, grandma miles at that. And even this engine, if you look inside the valve covers, it's spotless. So it's not like it's a sludged up mess. All right, we've got about where it should be here on a cold start, just shy of 60. To save memory, I'm going to shut the camera off to just make sure there's no leaks. My camera light. Excellent, no leaks. I'll tune back in when she's warmed up and we'll see where our oil pressure is. Okay, so you can see our temp is right where I want it. I've let this run now for probably 10-15 minutes. And this is the lowest the pressure gets, which is just over 20, which is plenty of pressure for 650 RPM at like highest operating temp. You know, that's probably 220, something like that. And then the fans will kick on and cool her back down, but this is good. So this tells us that it's just a faulty oil pressure switch. I don't know, maybe it could have got clogged up with a little bit of old sludgy oil from this thing sitting, so I blasted it out with some brake clean. Hopefully that will help. Again, if I have one on hand, I would change it, but I don't, and they don't stock them here locally, so I'm gonna have to order one. So next oil change, I'll swap it out. But again, nothing alarming here. It's over 20 pounds of oil pressure at very hot idle. Plenty. Just so we know our gauge is working. Obviously it's going to settle back down now. Yep, beautiful. So we're in good shape. I'm going to button her back up, and at least we know there's nothing wrong with this engine. But listen to it even. Well, the fan's just kicked on conveniently, but there's no knocking or ticking or anything like that, but I just wanted to be absolutely sure. All right, so my buddy Oleg, who some of you might remember way back years ago, I sold him a GS300. He's in a couple of videos on this channel. He loaned me this Bissell carpet cleaner, steamer, whatever this thing is. The Lumina still smells pretty badly, not nearly as bad, but still pretty badly of mouse urine. So we want to get that out, obviously. I'm just going to have to give the carpet a quick general vacuuming over here. All right, forgive the noise. So he told me to spray a little bit of the solution, manually scrub it, and then you do the suction with, I think, the spray one more time. Screw it, let's just try something. That should be enough. So then he said, turn the vacuum off. And he said, manually work this stuff in. He told me this stuff's pretty strong, so I didn't want to spray too much. Looks like I sprayed plenty, actually. The carpet's pretty soaked. I'm not trying to get any stains out because there's not really any. I'm just trying to get the smell out. So we'll work that in. Okay, and then I think he said turn it back on. Spray it one more time. And then I feel like Anthony Gazzo over here with the nice little streamlines and the carpet. Although I'm sure I'm not doing this nearly as professionally. Hold on, let's see if we can imitate the specialty motor cars carpet streaks, carpet lines. All right, look at that. I think that spells Cimarron. Check out all the nastiness. It was worse before coming out. Got a very clean car overall. That's probably just the mouse piss that's coming out now. I did all this right here. You're not going to see a visual difference because, again, the interior was already very clean. But odor-wise, I'm sure it's going to be a heck of a lot better if not perfect. Do this and I'll ozone it one more time and we should be odor free. I did half the car at this point, the driver's side. Didn't take me that long. Again, it was a little bit, okay, go inside, have a beer, come back out, a little bit more, go inside, have a beer. So, and when I say, I did everything. And you're not going to see a difference because the car was already very clean. It just has the odor. I mean, obviously a little bit of dirt. Well, nice, huh? Obviously, you know, a car can look clean. Anything can look clean for that matter and actually be that dirty, but it's not like this was an interior. It had massive stains everywhere. There was no stains at all. I did everything. Seats, sides of the seats, back of this seat, sides of that seat, door panel, everything that was fabric. I pushed the seat all the way up to underneath the seat. So this side, the driver's side, completely finished. I can actually put my nose up to the seats and smell them. They smell clean. There's no weird odor. So I know that I got them clean. The trunk was the worst smelling part of the car. And what I decided to do, instead of even wasting my time trying to clean that weird trunk carpet that's really hard to actually clean properly, I just pulled it all out. I'm going to end up pressure washing that stuff, let it sit out in the sun. And there was the matting in here. You can see the remnants on this side. This side was actually already missing entirely. And then this side was kind of chewed up. And this trunk really, really, really smelled bad. So now I'm going to do the passenger side, just as I described how I did it on the driver's side. All right, well, I said I better get some footage at least. I know when I watch detailing videos and stuff, not even detailing necessarily, but just people doing what I'm doing, kind of resurrecting a car that's been sitting, you like to watch the process and not just get a quick explanation. So what I'm doing is I already sprayed down the seats with the little sprayer here. And, you know, since these are so soiled, here, let me zoom this out. In the sense that, yeah, they're covered in mouse piss. I'm not sure where they peed. It could have been one spot where they peed a lot, or it could be everything. But everything smells at this point because this car was just closed up tight for, you know, almost a decade. And had all that mold in it too, which I got rid of all that, but you have to imagine there were some spores that got into the fabric. So what I'm doing obviously is I'm just agitating the seat with a little brush attachment here. I already did the upper shelf here. I think that should be plenty good. And then I got to put this piece back on right here. I swear one day I'll get a camera person, or my girlfriend used to hold the camera for me all the time, but she's too busy these days. So it's just me, but someday we'll get the camera work right. All right, so now I turn this thing back on. And watch this. Wow, let's zoom it in. All that red you see is from that upper shelf. Just the fibers come loose off that carpet. So you can see it extracting what I just sprayed on the seat. Obviously what I sprayed on the seat is pulling whatever is in the fabric out. Here, let's do the specialty. I probably would do it like this. Or see, this I was telling you can't do it on the seats. The special fabric, it doesn't show those nice, you know, cleaning lines, but you can see I'm cleaning them. So it's just this for the rest of eternity until I get this interior done. Okay, so this took some time, let me tell you, but it was certainly worth doing. The car, and you can see the doors are all shut. except for the one I have open. Wish you guys had like a smell feature on YouTube. Not always a good thing, but I can tell you right now, it smells a lot better. And this seat, you might have remembered, it had like a weird fade to it on this front bolster. I really scrubbed the hell out of that. I think part of it's just sun fade, and it would make sense because this is the side of the car it's had the majority of the paint work done. So I think the majority was sun fade, but it looks a lot better. It was almost like green before, and it wasn't mold. Did a little scratch and sniff test on that. It's just faded, I guess, but I think scrubbing it really well kind of brought some of the color back. I don't know, you know. There was actually a bunch of trash. It was like papers and napkins and things, but that the mice had jammed in between the center console and the seats. So that stuff obviously stunk. And there were some more little droppings and things I had missed that were kind of like dead center underneath each seat, where just sticking the vacuum under normally you wouldn't get them. You got to move the seat forward and backward. But now, spotless. I didn't miss an inch of this car with the vacuuming and extracting process. It is, well, I guess I lied. Somehow this came about, but look at those carpets and seats. Let me show you. I've had to empty this out a few times, obviously, but let me show you. Here we go. Even when a car looks clean, look at that. You can't even see through that. Again, I've definitely seen way worse. I've seen this be like black. That was just at the full line too. Look at that. Again, yeah, so I'm sure there's definitely some rodent urine mixed in there, along with just 30 years of use and dirt. This car has been doing wonderful until the other day. On Friday, or if today's Saturday, okay, so Thursday, I took her for a nice long drive. Furthest drive I've ever taken it on. And just my luck, I get a battery light on the dash. And this doesn't have a voltage gauge, but that's your warning light, essentially telling you that the battery voltage is insufficient. So it was coming and going, and I figured, okay, you know, maybe it's a dummy light situation. But ultimately, car died. Fortunately, one of my subscribers and a very good friend of mine at this point, Joe, was close by and came, picked me up, took me home. I came back with my Escalade and my dolly, loaded her up and took her home. So that's where we're at. Fortunately, I have an identical W body on the other side of my driveway that I can take the alternator off of, put it in this car, see if it corrects the problem. If it does, order an alternator and put it in the other car. So I'm going to do that right now. This is really, really simple. The serpentine belt comes off real easy. All you need is a 3/8 ratchet. You put it right in that little square hole there. That allows you to push the tensioner up and releases the tension on the belt. And then it looks like maybe 12 millimeter, 1, 2, and I think at that point it should come right off. All right, just a few minutes later, I've got the alternator out. I'm not sure if I did it the way you're supposed to. So you can see there's a big meaty alternator bracket here. I probably could have just took off the whole bracket, but honestly, with my swivel head socket, I mean, the two, they were 10 millimeters, not 12. This guy and this guy, those took 2 seconds to get off. Popped this guy out, and I noticed it wouldn't budge. Felt back here, and I felt the head of this, which was a 13, I think. What did I have on there? 13. So I just stuck my swivel head back there. I had just enough room to turn that out. So that's the way that I'm going to do it, at least. But this is a Delco Remy alternator. I'm guessing a reman. I've seen it a million times. These don't hold up. So I'm going to go repeat the process on my Cutlass Supreme. Should be the same layout. That car is 92, this is a 90, the same older 3.1. So let's go get that one and throw it in. Okay, and we're over here at my 92 Cutlass Supreme. Now, the reason I want to get an alternator in the Lumina so badly, and I don't mind taking this one out until replacement arrives, is that the Lumina has black paint, this car has white paint. White paint does okay out here in the Florida sun. Black paint doesn't. I mean, obviously, if you wax it up well, it'll do fine, but I haven't had a chance to do that on that Lumina. It needs a real good buff, polish, clay, full detail. This car I don't mind sitting outside until an alternator comes in. No surprise, this one's also had the alternator replaced back in 2005. Well, it's lasted this long. It looks older than that Delco Remy Reman, so I haven't had any issues with this alternator. Same process on this one. I figured I would take you guys along for the fun. So we got to get this down here, push up, so that moves the tensioner, and just like that, slip the belt off of the alternator. I'm not going to unravel the entire belt because when I get an alternator for this one, all I have to do is just pop it back on the alternator pulley. And then we've got those two 10s. Now, please, like I said, don't take this video to be an instructional video. I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but for the tools that I have, this is working just fine. So to save you from watching me ratchet that out, because my Milwaukee electric ratchet's dead. Uh-oh, I didn't have that in the way on the 90. So this is what I was trying to explain before. I've got my swivel 13mm socket, got my extendable ratchet. Had to pop him off the bracket. And just like this. Well, now it fell off because I'm not holding it sturdy, but that's how I get that 13 out the back. That's what's working for me. Maybe a better way to do it, but I'll have this out in just a minute. All right, then there were two. Got this one out. Give me a little more of a fight. The long bolt in this one was, I don't know, like the other on the Lumina. Once I broke it loose, I was pretty much able to spin it free with my hand. This guy I wasn't. It's also interesting how it's shaved like this. I don't know if someone did that at some point or if that's how it came from the factory, but the other one's not like that. And of course you have to disconnect this as well, 10mm on that. So now this one, honestly, it doesn't sound much better than it's just as squeaky and I don't know. It works, so I mean, like I said, I want to get that black Lumina back over into my parking garage I stored and get it out of the sun. This should allow me to do that. Moment of truth, I've got the alternator from the 92 Cutlass Supreme in the 90 Lumina. Battery connected. We've got lights, obviously. Obviously we won't know right away, but let's see what happens. So far, so good. I don't see a battery light. Well, so far, so good, although I noticed got a little leak here from the water pump. It looks like this gasket goes around this T here, so that's good. I don't think it's actually, well, I know it's not actually the water pump housing. It's got to be that gasket there, so no big deal. I'll order one of those and get that replaced. All right, just for good measure, a little bonus footage here. I finally found my multimeter. And I know I can go check this on the alternator, probably be better, but this is easier with me holding the camera in one hand, because I can just go boink, boink, right there. 13.9 volts, right? Exactly what we want to see. Excellent readout there, so we know that the alternator is in fact good. I already knew it was good. I took it from the other car. But we know that the battery is charging. I like to triple check everything. Cannot wait to get this thing properly detailed, bring the paint back to life in the areas where it needs it.